He watched you walk away without stopping you, not because he didn't care, not because he wanted to lose you, but because there was one thing he loved more than the relationship at that moment: his pride. When the door closed behind you, he folded his arm and whispered to himself, "If she really loves me, she will come back." He had no idea those would become the most expensive words he would ever speak. Days that followed felt strangely quiet. He kept reaching for his phone, trying typing your name, then locking the screen before pressing send. Every apology sounded too weak. Every explanation sounded like surrender. His ego kept telling him there was still time. Tomorrow he will call you. Tomorrow he will explain. Tomorrow everything will be fine. But tomorrow kept moving on and on and on. If this is your first time of coming across my channel, please subscribe, click on the notification button, like and share for another interesting story. Friends asked about you. He struggled and pretended it didn't matter. He laughed louder than usual. He acted as though life had returned to normal. Only his empty apartment knew the truth. The silence inside those walls grew heavier every night. There were little reminders everywhere. The mug you always used, the chair where you sat while talking about your dreams, the handwritten note you had once stuck inside a book, reminding him that love was never about winning arguments, but protecting each other's heart. He found himself reading that note over and over and over again. Still, he never called. Months passed. He convinced himself that you had moved on because you never loved him enough. That lie became the pillow he rested his conscience on every night. Life carried him forward, but happiness never did. He met new people. He smiled in photograph. He attended celebration. Yet every happy moment felt incomplete. There was always an empty space beside him that no one seems able to fill. People thought he had healed. He had no idea he was simply learning how to hide his pain. Years passed before fate quietly crossed your paths again. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no tears, no bitterness, no desperate embrace. He saw you from a distance. You looked peaceful, excited, and happy, not angry, just very peaceful. The kind of peace that only comes after surviving a storm. For the first time, he realized that the woman standing before him was no longer waiting for answers. She had already found them without within herself. His heart raced. Every excuse he had reached over the years suddenly sounded meaningless. He wanted to speak. He wanted to tell you everything, but before he could gather the courage, someone greeted you warmly. The smile on your face was different. It wasn't the smile of someone pretending to be okay. It was the smile of someone who truly was happy. That smile hurt him more than any insult ever could, because it proved something he never believed was possible. Life had continued without him. Then that night he couldn't sleep. Memories folded filled his mind. Every moment he had ignored, every apology he never made, every message he never sent. For the first time, pride felt incredibly small. Days later, an unexpected conversation changed everything. He met someone who had been close to you during those difficult days. At first, they spoke casually. Then your name came up. The conversation became quiet. Finally, the person looked at him and asked softly, "Did you ever send that message?" He frowned. What message? The one she waited for. His heartbeat slowed. What are you talking about? The answer shattered him. She believed you would call. Every morning she checked her phone before getting out of bed. Every night she cried herself to sleep, hoping your name would appear on the screen. He couldn't bear it. The person continued. She kept saying, he will explain. He knows I would listen. His hands began to shake. For days she refused to believe it was over. She stared at the floor. Every word felt heavier than the last. Then one evening she quietly deleted your conversation, put the phone down and said, if silent is his answer, then I have to accept it. His words, his world stopped. He believed you had felt he believed you had left because you didn't care. The truth was far more painful. You stayed emotionally long after physical walking away. You had waited. You had hoped he would come or he would call. You had believed in him until his silence answered every question. He rushed home, opened the door He rushed home and opened the old phone he had never thrown away. There, buried beneath years of messages, sat dozens of drafts he had never sent. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I miss you. I was wrong. None of them had reached you. Not one. He realized something terrifying. Love had never failed. His courage had. He began writing a letter, not because he expected you to return, but because he finally understood the truth. Some apologies are meant to free the person giving them, not to restore what was lost. He never knew whether you read it or not. He kept asking. But then he understood that healing sometimes means respecting the life someone built after surviving the pain you caused. As for you, life had taught you something equally powerful. The hardest goodbye is not the one spoken with tears. It is the one spoken by silence. You stopped waiting. You stopped asking why. You stopped expecting someone to choose you after they had already chosen their pride. Instead, you chose yourself, and that decision became the beginning of a beginning of peace no apology could ever replace. Meanwhile, he carried a lesson that followed him everywhere. People who of People who often believe love ends because someone walks away. Sometimes love ends because someone says nothing at all. He lost the person who would he lost the person who have forgiven him, not because she stopped loving him, but because he stayed silent long enough for her to believe she had to stop waiting. That was the loudest mistake of his life, and it echoes in his heart long after your footsteps had faded away.